Hello everyone, I am here with my December wrap-up for you. This month I read quite a few festive reads, which I really enjoyed, and part of the reason for that was because my lovely friend Katie and I decided to do some Christmas buddy reads. So the first one of those that we read together was The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus by L. Frank Baum, who of course wrote the Oz series. This is the beautiful Penguin Christmas Classics edition. It's lovely, as you can see. The end papers are gorgeous as well. And then underneath the dust jacket, it's just this nice Christmassy red color with gold lettering on the spine. So they are very gorgeous. I'd love to collect all of the volumes in this series. But this one just traces the life of Santa Claus and goes into the origins of him and how he came to be. It goes through, I believe it divides it into sections, his childhood or his infancy, his adulthood, and then old age, and it goes through everything that happens throughout those three phases of his life and how he becomes Santa and how he decides to start giving toys to all the children around the world, why he chooses December 24th and 25th. And along the way he has a lot of help from immortal kind of mythical creatures like fairies and nymphs and dryads and things like that, because as a baby he was actually found in this magical forest called Burzy and was taken in by this wood nymph named Necile and raised by him until he was a grown man, and he decided that his calling in life was to make little children happy, and he does this of course by giving them toys and becoming Santa Claus. So it's just a really cute, heartwarming Christmas story about the origins of Santa Claus, and I think it'd be I definitely enjoyed it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was super fun and super cute and heartwarming and really whimsical and magical, and I would definitely recommend this. And then the second thing that Katie and I read together for our Christmas reads was Nicholas St. North and the Battle of the Nightmare King, which is the first chapter book in the Guardians of Childhood series by William Joyce. This is written by William Joyce and Lara Geringer, and with illustrations by William Joyce as well. And this book is absolutely gorgeous, as you can tell. It's beautiful. This is kind of a Santa Claus origin story of sorts too, although it's very different from the one that I just showed you, The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus. It takes a very different twist on things. Santa's a lot tougher in this one. He was actually a thief before he became Santa Claus. And I'm just going to read you the inside flap really quickly because I think it could describe it better than I could. And so it says, before St. Nick was St. Nick, he was North. Nicholas St. North, a daredevil swordsman, ruffian, and notorious outlaw. His prowess with weaponry of all kinds was infamous, and he sought treasure and riches at all costs. Hardly hero material. But heroes are not born, they're tested. When real villains enter the scene in the shifting shape of Pitch and his dreaded fearlings, North finds a different use for his famed fighting abilities. Here, in this first in a series of epic Guardian adventures, meet the legendary St. Nick. You've known about him for years, but it turns out you didn't really know him at all. So this is just a really fun, imaginative adventure story about St. Nick and the friends that he teams up with to go after this evil villain Pitch, who is the king of nightmares. And there are I'll show you a few of the illustrations inside. They're gorgeous, as all of those are the fearlings there. Aren't they spooky? There's a little diagram there for something called the Moon Clipper, which is a spaceship of sorts. And then this is one of the main characters in the book, Ombrick. He's a great wizard. There's another picture of a bear. Yeah, so the illustrations are gorgeous and the story is equally so, so I would definitely recommend you pick this up if it sounds like something you'd be interested in. The next thing I have is A Christmas Carol and Other Writings by Charles Dickens. I only read A Christmas Carol out of this, and this was one of the ones that Katie and I read together as well. And I'd never read this before, but I really, really enjoyed it. I'm super happy to have read it now. It's just a really charming, you know, kind of like the classic Christmas story. Everybody knows the story of A Christmas Carol, whether you've read the book or not. And it's funny because Katie and I, our favorite Christmas movie is The Muppet Christmas Carol. And so we were talking about how when we were reading this, we were imagining the characters as the Muppet characters and Scrooge as Michael Caine. So that was just a nice, kind of fun, cute twist that we had when reading this. So yeah, I would definitely recommend you read this. It's just as great as everyone always says. And then the last thing that I read with Katie was this picture book, and that is Great Joy by Kate DeCamillo with illustrations by Bagram Ibatuline. That's probably terribly wrong. This gentleman right here. I'm so sorry for butchering that. But he's the one who illustrated Kate Camelo's other novel that I read recently, The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane, which I won't shut up about because I loved it so much. This, unfortunately, was just okay. The story was cute, but it wasn't anything too special, especially when compared with the other things that I've read by Kate Camelo, which have all been amazing. The illustrations were wonderful as usual. I love his style. It's really, really beautiful and evocative. The illustrations made me feel more than the actual story did, unfortunately. But yeah, it's really beautiful. I'd say it's definitely worth a read if it sounds good to you. I'm just going to read the back of it to you really quick. It's very short. Deep in the purple dusk of winter, a monkey and an organ grinder appear on the corner of Francis's street. Francis is troubled when she notices that the man and the monkey are still on the street late at night. When the day of the Christmas pageant arrives and it's Francis's turn to speak, all she can think about is the organ grinder's sad eyes, until, just in time, she finds the perfect words to share. So yeah, it was an okay read. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Nothing too extraordinary, but still pick it up if it sounds interesting to you. And then the last 2 Christmassy things I read were, these are sort of things that Katie and I read together. We were talking about American Girl dolls and the ones that we had when we were little and our favorite characters and how much we loved reading the stories when we were little, so that made us nostalgic and we wanted to read some of the Christmas stories because each character has a Christmas story in their collection. And so we both read Molly's Christmas Story. This is Molly's. I have the bind up of all the stories for each of the characters, or each of the old original characters, and they're illustrated throughout. It's really beautiful. This one is written by Valerie Tripp with illustrations by Nick Backus, perhaps. Yeah, and it's really cute and adorable. I'll show you this is the cover for the Christmas story called Molly's Surprise, and this was just really cute and nostalgic and heartwarming. You know, it's not like extraordinarily written or anything, although the writing did hold up better than I was expecting it to. There's one of the illustrations. So it's just really beautiful, and it was heartwarming and cute and nostalgic for Katie and I. We both loved it. So yeah, I really enjoyed reading this. And Katie only read the Molly one, but I went ahead and read Kit's Christmas Story as well. This is her collection. This one is also written by Valerie Tripp, but the illustrations are by Walter Rain. And I'll show you what cover of her Christmas Story looks like. This is Kit's Surprise. And the illustrations in this one are really beautiful too. If I had to pick a favorite, I would say I like Molly's a little bit better. And I also liked her story a little bit better, but this one was still good. It just wasn't quite as charming to me. It's a picture of Kit with her nasty uncle. He's very stern. But yes, I really enjoyed, just revisiting these stories that I loved so much as a little girl, and it was a great Christmas treat. And the only non-Christmassy full novel that I completed in December was The Hired Girl by Laura Amy Schlitz. I read something else, A Drowned Maiden's Hair by Laura Amy Schlitz, last month, maybe? The month before? No, it was in September or October, something like that. I think I finished it in October. But anyway, that one was just okay for me, and unfortunately, I would say overall, this one was the same. It was just kind of okay. I think I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I would probably maybe give it 3.5 out of 5 stars, but not really more than that. I was really enjoying it all the way throughout. It follows this girl on the cover here. I love this cover, by the way. This font is lovely, and I don't know if you can tell, but the author's name is this is in white, this main font for the title, and then the author's name is in this light pink, but the same font. I just think it's beautiful. I just love this cover. But this is about 14-year-old Joan Scraggs, and she works on a farm and lives with her father and her 3 brothers, I think. And this is set in the early 1900s, I think, in America. And she is the only woman in the household because her mother passed away a couple of years ago, leaving her to do all of the housework and the chore work. And her father is a terrible man. He just wants her basically to do all of the chores, all of the housework, all of the woman's work, if you will. Cringe. And he just doesn't really care for her at all, doesn't really have any fatherly love for her, nothing. He's just kind of a horrible man, and he doesn't encourage her education, which she loves to read and she wants to learn and better herself, but he doesn't encourage that at all. He made her drop out of school so that she could always be at the house to work, and basically that's what he wants her whole life to be. He doesn't want her to ever be able to leave and do all the things that she dreams of doing. So she decides to run away, with good reason, in that kind of environment. And one of the brothers is okay. He's kind of sympathetic towards her, but he doesn't really do anything about it, so it's not helpful. And she has this teacher who she loves that encourages her, but in the face of her father, there's nothing really that she can do for her either. So she really is kind of feeling hopeless, and so she runs away to Baltimore, I believe, and finds this family and goes to work for them as a hired girl. And the family treats her really well. They're really good to her, and they give her books to read and everything. And so she starts to better herself over time and just experiences city life for the first time because she's always lived on this farm. It's just kind of about her journey in education and trying to better herself and things like that. And I believe Laura Amy Schlitz based some of this off of her grandmother's own diary, so that was an interesting aspect to wonder kind of, oh, I wonder which parts of this are true and which parts are fictionalized, so that was an interesting aspect. For the most part, I enjoyed this book. I like Joan as a character, except there's a certain point in the story, without spoiling anything, there's a certain point in the story where she becomes infatuated with a young man, and that just kind of like takes over her whole life, and that just really bothered me because I was like, you know, what happened to education and reading and going to school and wanting to better yourself so you could become a school teacher? Like, we're just gonna throw all that away just so we can like fawn over this boy. But the relationship would never have worked out, but she was just so naive about it that she thought everything would be great and it would just all fall into place and everything would be fine, and that was just not the case at all. And she was being so ridiculous about it, and it was really frustrating. And that was towards like the very end of the book. That all started happening in the last like quarter of the book. And so that just kind of ruined, I mean, I don't want to say it ruined it for me, but it kind of did. I didn't really like that turn of events, and that's where it kind of, like, it got a little bit better at the very end. So the ending wasn't horrible, but it also felt very rushed. I could have used like another like 50 pages or so to tell me more about what was going to happen after she got over that whole lovesick, ridiculous moment. Not that there's anything wrong with being in love. Her situation was just so unrealistic, though, and just was never going to work, and she just completely abandoned everything else she had ever wanted or dreamed of or worked for, and that is not okay. As I think we could all agree, it's not okay. So that part was a little disappointing because I was really enjoying it up to that point, but I still want to give more of Laura Amy Schlitz's work a chance because I have another book of hers that sounds really interesting that's a middle grade novel that I really want to read. So, but if that one is just kind of okay, maybe I'll rethink reading any more of her stuff, because all of her books sound great to me, but the two that I've read so far have just been okay. So yes, that is what I had to say about this book. And the last two things I have to show you are picture books, and the first one is one that my lovely friend Katie gave me for my birthday. Thank you so much, Katie. I absolutely love it. It's beautiful. And that is I Had a Favorite Dress by Bonnie Ashburn with pictures by Julia Denos, something like that. As you can tell, it's very beautiful. I love the style of illustrations that they use. There's just like a lot of bright kind of pastel colors. The end papers are adorable. They're like this pink plaid. And a lot of the illustrations look like they're done with like pencil and crayon and marker, which is really cute, especially for something that's about, you know, such a young child as this little girl. So that's one of the pictures there. And that's another one. It's just a really, really cute style. I really enjoyed it. That's her with all of her friends. That's one of my favorite ones. They're making snow angels. It's really cute. This is just about this little girl who has a favorite dress that she's wearing on the cover here. One day her mother tells her that it's gotten too short, and she's very upset about this because obviously she doesn't want to give up her favorite dress. So I think they turn it into a shirt or something, and then something happens with the shirt and she has to make it into a new item so that she can keep it, and so on and so forth. And it's just really cute and heartwarming, and there's actually a sequel called, or a companion called I Had a Favorite Hat, I believe, and I will definitely be picking that up, as well as checking out more of Julia Denos's works. the things that she has illustrated because I really enjoy her style. I've already looked her up on like Amazon and things, and she has some other picture books that look really good as well. So yes, I very much enjoyed this one, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. And then the last picture book that I have is one that I showed in my recent haul, and that is Jim Henson, The Guy Who Played with Puppets, by Kathleen Kroll, with paintings by Steve Johnson and Lou Fancher, something like that. And this is just a little children's picture book biography of Jim Henson and how he got into puppets and how he got into storytelling and just his life growing up. And I believe it was Mississippi, maybe? And how they didn't have, he grew up in the 30s and 40s, and so they didn't have a TV, obviously. And so how he just learned to entertain himself through stories and making people laugh, and how he was just so enamored with that he decided to make it his career. And of course, as we all know, he made some very iconic things like the Muppets and Sesame Street. And yeah, it wasn't like spectacularly written or anything like that, but it was just nice to get to know a little bit more about his life. And I'm definitely glad that I read this and that I own it. So yeah, I really enjoyed that, and I would definitely recommend it if you want to know a little bit more about Jim Henson. Alright everybody, that is my December wrap-up. Thank you so much for watching. If you've read any of these books, please let me know what you thought about them down below, or if you'd like to read them, let me know which ones you want to pick up. And yeah, just chat with me down in the comments. I always love talking to you guys, and I will see you in another video hopefully very soon. Thanks for watching.